Welcome everyone. Today's topic is on the enormous coming shadow inventory and how to get to it. Okay, so what's shadow inventory? So shadow inventory, it's also commonly known as REO, so bank-owned properties. When the bank foreclosed on the owner and nobody bought the property at the judicial auction, then it became the bank's asset. Okay, so at that point, guess what? The banks are not in the business of real estate. The banks are in the business of lending. That's how they make money. So they want to dispose of these properties. Now, why are there going to be tremendous opportunity coming down the pipe for REOs? Because right now with the pandemic and the forbearance program ending on spring 2021, those people who still can't pay the mortgage, guess what? They're going to enter the foreclosure process immediately. So eventually, those properties are going to become bank-owned properties if nobody buys them before then. Okay, so there's going to be by 2021, 2022, a huge number of opportunities for distress of market properties, in particular bank-owned properties. So the banks are going to get rid of the properties. So typically, how do they get rid of the properties? So what the banks are going to do is they are going to send them to two places. They're going to send them to the MLS and to the auctioning platforms online, such as Hubzu.com, Marshall and Hudson, and auction.com, Williams and Williams. Those are the four major auctioning platforms online. Okay, so again, the banks are going to put them on the MLS, so they're going to hire an REO broker who's going to put them in the MLS, and also they're going to go to the auctioning platforms because they want to get rid of the properties ASAP. Okay, so but this is the key. When the property went to the judicial auction, okay, this is where the investors come into the courthouse and start bidding for the properties. Okay, at that point, if nobody bought the property, obviously it's going to go back to the bank. So guess what? There is a time frame from the moment the property goes back to the bank and to the time that the bank is going to send those properties to the REO broker and to the auctioning platform. Okay, there's going to be a time frame of about 30 to 90 days. Okay, listen to that. So 30 to 90 days, it's totally off market. So nobody knows about them but you. Why? Because we know every single property that goes to the bank right away. So when they go to the judicial auction and nobody buys them, immediately they become REOs. So you're gonna know about them. And then at that point, guess what? You have 30 to 90 days, so up to 3 months for you to reach out to the bank directly and try to buy it from the bank. But this is the secret, friends. You've got to target properties that are owned by small banks, small community banks. Okay, you cannot target big banks like Chase, Bank of America, Fifth Third Bank, US Bank. Why? Because they are handling volume. They want to sell properties bulk. So they're not going to sell you or me one property. Okay, you've got to understand that. But if it's, let's say, this plain community bank, perfect, because you can reach out to them. You can go to the branch and say, you know, I understand that you took this property back from auction on this date. I'm interested in making an offer. So that's rule number one. You've got to look for small banks. And second condition is that they have a lot of equity, meaning that the owner who lost the property owed very little money on the property, but yet the property is worth quite a lot. Why is that super important? Because you're going to have more bargaining power with the bank to get a better deal. Does that make sense? So again, I'm going to give you a live demo of what I'm talking about next so that you can visualize what I'm saying right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log on to ChicagoDealVault, okay, right now, and then we're going to go to off-market properties. So these properties are technically not for sale. So once I log on, I'm going to go on their off-market properties, and right here we have bank-owned properties, okay? So these properties, as soon as they become REOs, guess what? Boom, we get them updated into ChicagoDealVault, okay? So we update every single day off-market REO properties, okay? So at this point, once they hit the REO list, you have up to 3 months to reach out to small community banks with, hopefully the property has a lot of equity. So very simple. The first step is we are going to filter, in this case, just to keep it simple, I'm gonna pick a county, but ideally you're gonna go by city or zip code. But just to keep it generic, so I'm gonna pick, for instance, DuPage, and then I want high equity properties, so over 50% equity. So what does that mean? That the owner owed very little money, but yet the property is worth a lot, and yet the owner lost the property at the judicial auction, and then it became REO. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let me show you, without filtering by high equity, check this out. So when I search all the bank-owned properties in DuPage, we get 473 REOs. This number by summer 2021 is going to more than double, okay? So look out for huge opportunities 2021. So at this point, that's too many properties. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna filter just by high equity, okay? Okay, so Phil, if you can please mute all attendees. Thank you, Phil. Okay, so at this point now, the list of 400 and something came down to only 24 properties. That's huge. So what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna randomly click on one of them. So for instance, I'm gonna pick this one, Lyle. So I'm gonna tell you why this is a great deal, okay? So first of all, you're gonna know right here all the information about the property. So the balance due on this deal, on this house, was $164,000, okay? And then the property was worth twice as much, at least, okay? It's worth over $360,000. So can you imagine that the owner lost this property just because they owed less than 50% of the property? I mean, that's just mind-blowing. I mean, somebody owes $164,000, but yet they lose a property that is worth close to $400,000. I mean, this is where we come into the picture, friends, okay? So now listen, at that point, it went back to the bank pretty much for $196,000, okay? Now, why is that difference? Because the bank is gonna add fees, penalties, okay? So the last payment made right here, last payment made was back in December 2017, and this was the last outstanding balance, 164. So since 2017, a lot of fees, penalties, and mortgage payments were due. So that is why it went back to the bank for at least $196,000. So now, this property, the next thing that you need to understand, so once you know that this has a lot of equity, right? If you can buy this property for $200,000, right? But yet, this is almost worth $400,000, so you're paying 50 cents on the dollar, okay? So now, the next thing that you need to do is, what bank owns this property? Huntington National Bank. So this is medium to large bank, okay? But what you can do is reach out to the bank's attorney, okay? In this case, mainly these, that's LLC. So you can call them directly and say, I understand that your client has a property that they took from auction 5003 Westview and so forth. So I'm interested in making an offer. Would your client be interested in entertaining an offer? So either you get to work with the bank's attorney right here, or they can give you the asset manager's contact information, okay? Because you want to make an offer on this property if you're gonna pay 50 cents on the dollar. Does that make sense? It is that simple. But again, this is Huntington National, it's medium to large bank. So let's look at another example so that you get the hang of it. So I'm gonna now click on West Chicago. So this is what I typically do. When I come and then I filter by high equity, so I know these are all great deals. The first thing is to look at the plaintiff, which is the bank that owns the property, Wells Fargo. It's a really large bank. So we're gonna skip all that, all those properties that are owned by large banks. So I'm gonna go to Carroll Stream. Okay, Carroll Stream is a great rental market. So I'm hoping that the property is owned by a smaller institution. So Federal National Mortgage Association. This sounds like a small lender. Okay, so here now we have a better chance. So at this point, look at this. The outstanding balance is 113, okay? And the property is worth like close to 250. So again, you have a lot of equity, a lot of bargaining power that you can work to negotiate with the lender directly. Okay, so the key, friends, is two things. You're gonna be targeting small banks with properties that have a lot of equity, because then you're gonna be paying like 50 cents on the dollar. You don't want to target properties that don't have any equity, because then the bank pretty much is not going to sell it to you for like 50 cents on the dollar. They want to try to recoup their money, right? That is why we need to target high equity deals, just to keep it simple, because there are many of them. So right now we found like 24. So Itasca, let's look at this one. Okay, so the first thing that you need to look at is they owe 99,000. Okay, and then the plaintiff is BMO, Harris Bank. Okay, that's a really big bank. So I would skip this one, although just for you to get the hang of it, for sakes, just test the waters. Call the attorney's office and find out if you can get the asset manager's contact information. It wouldn't hurt. Most likely they're gonna say no, but try it once, okay? So don't take my word for it. I want you to test out what I'm saying. So please call them, see if they would entertain an offer. But again, this is a large bank, but this seems like a great deal, because look at this. They took the property back for only 81,000, and this property is worth over 350,000. I mean, it's just a huge spread, and the bank is going to get rid of the property sooner or later, right? So they're going to put it in the MLS or any of the auctioning platforms. So you want to intercept the property before the bank is going to give it to an REO broker or to any of these auctioning platforms. Now, why is it important for you to talk to the bank directly before they put it on the market? For one, you have no competition. Two, the bank is going to sell it to you for a lower price. Why? Because they're going to save money on carrying costs, holding expenses, and commissions. They don't need to work with an REO broker. They don't need to pay a commission to the auctioning platform. So if they sell it to you directly, guess what? They're going to recoup their money a lot quicker, and then you're going to get a better deal. Does that make sense? So let's look at another property. So right here, Lombard. Let's look at Lombard. So this property is owned by, oh, this sounds like a very, very small, oh, this is the JP Morgan. Okay, that's huge. So these don't even bother. JP Morgan is just humongous. Willowbrook, let's take a look at this one. So you get the hang of it, right? How these awesome deals. So plaintiff, select portfolio servicing. This is a good lead, right? Now check this out. They owe, I mean, they took it back for 163,000, and the property is worth twice as much. So imagine if you get a hold of the, in this case, asset manager of this lender, either by going directly to this lender or through their attorney, okay? So their attorney can help you convey the offer to the lender, or they can give you directly the asset manager's contact information. Okay, so you're gonna call directly their attorney and find out the best way to make an offer to the bank. Okay, so this is an example of a very, very good opportunity in Willowbrook, okay? Because again, the bank took it only for 163. So let me tell you, oftentimes when the bank sends these properties to the auctioning platform and to the MLS, they're gonna ask for 163 plus some commissions, carrying costs that they have incurred 3 months down the road that they're holding on to the property. So if this hits the MLS, this is gonna hit the MLS or auctioning platforms for no less than probably 200,000, okay? So if you can intercept the property before then you're all set. So I wanna make sure if so far you have any questions. What about liens? Super important. Okay, so when they become REOs, you don't need to worry about the liens. Okay, this is a great question. Thank you for asking that. So if you were to intercept the property before it became an REO, then you don't need to worry about the liens, okay? Because you're working directly with the owner, okay? So you need to satisfy those liens. It could be an IRS lien, it could be an association lien, it could be a mortgage lien, it could be a mechanics lien, it could be a utility lien, all kinds of lien. You do need to worry about it if it's directly with the owner. But once it becomes an REO, then it's owned by the bank. So when you buy the property directly from the bank, you are going to get what's called a special warranty deed or a general warranty deed, which guarantees clean title, okay? Zero encumbrances or clouds on the title. So it's pretty much a clean title, okay? So that's the beauty about buying properties directly from the bank. And obviously, through your attorney, you're gonna get title insurance. So you're gonna make sure that you get a special warranty deed or general warranty deed. So there are no encumbrances. You don't need to worry about the previous liens. They're all taken care of, okay? Super important, great question. Okay, now there's another question. This is Fannie Mae. Oh, okay. Thank you for bringing that up, Fannie Mae. Another question is, shouldn't we look on the inside of the property first? And are we able to make offers on shadow inventory now? Okay, so when you find properties with such a huge spread, okay, these properties most of the times are going to be vacant, okay? So bank loan property, most of them are going to be vacant. But again, if it's such a great deal, the first thing is, are you able to get in touch with the bank? That's step number one. Step number two, if you are able to get in touch directly with the bank, go check out the property, okay? Just to make sure that it's vacant, because if it's occupied, you're gonna have issues with lending or funding. Lenders want to do an appraisal on the property, therefore they need physical access to the property. And if it's occupied, tough luck, they are not going to lend you money. There are some nationwide lenders like Home Lending. They can do drive-by appraisals, drive-by appraisals or desktop appraisals. But guess what? They're gonna put you down like 30–40% down payment. So we try to avoid occupied properties, especially because right now the eviction moratorium has been extended till December. So if you buy a property that is occupied, you won't be able to even see the property from the inside until probably next year. And guess what? You run a very high risk of them vandalizing the property. So it's way too risky. I mean, you need to do like cash for keys. But again, just keep it simple. Focus on vacant properties. Great questions. How much to subscribe to the website? We'll talk about that towards the end. Assuming they get a lot of calls, is there something? Let me see. Just went. If they get a lot of phone calls, is there something to set yourself apart? Guess what? Great question, Andrea. There are not going to be many calls to the bank. Guess what? Because rarely anybody has access to this inventory. Because remember, they just took these properties from the judicial auction, okay? So they just became REOs. So nobody knows about them, not even REO brokers. You will know about this for 30 to 90 days, okay? Before the bank is going to put them in the MLS via an REO broker or to the auctioning platforms. So you're gonna have very, very little competition. So again, focus on high equity properties owned by small banks. Great questions. How much is there? Is the lead outdated? We update the leads daily. Okay, so all the data gets updated daily. Can we see these properties if not on the MLS? Okay, so great question. Banked on properties, oftentimes you may not be able to see the properties from the inside, but maybe 30 to 45 days after they become REOs, guess what? The bank is going to send a runner to secure the property. So the bank is going to put a lockbox. They're going to winterize the property. They're going to make sure that it doesn't get vandalized. Okay, they're going to do that fairly quickly, between I would say a week to 45 days from the day they took the property from the auction, meaning from the day it became REO. They're going to somehow secure the property. So you may be able to get access to the property. If the bank is interested in selling the property, they will give you the lockbox. And again, what I found in the past for banked-on properties is that even if before they secure the property, when we go check them out, you might see that even the front or the back door are open, or maybe a window is open, or maybe it doesn't have any blinds, or the blinds are open. So you can get a good feel for the inside condition of the property. Okay, now the beauty about banked-on properties is that these properties were occupied, so you can assume that it's in sort of livable condition. It might not be like in great shape, they might be dated, but they're in sort of working condition. So all the properties we've bought in the past, it's been 4 banked-on properties in the last 7 months, have been in great shape. Okay, why? Because they were recently occupied. Therefore, most of the mechanicals were in functioning condition. Okay, great question. But again, you may not have access to it, or you may have access if the bank has already secured the property. Okay, sometimes we bought properties without going inside the property. We just take a peek through the windows, and that's good enough, because this is what you want to find out. You want to make sure that it's not like a gut rehab. And guess what? Banked-on properties are rarely gut rehabs. Okay, that's simple. What the owners are going to do is the following, because they have a grudge, right, against the bank, because they pretty much took their home. What you're going to find very often is that the owners are going to remove all appliances. Sometimes they will even remove the furnaces and the water heater, okay? But that's about it. You will rarely find vandalized properties by the owners. They're just going to remove appliances and sometimes furnaces, water heaters. That's a rare case, but I've seen that for sure. If the appliances were nice and they bought them, they're gonna get rid of it. Take the appliances with them. But it's not a big deal, right? Because we're buying the appliances anyways when we rehab the property. So great questions. You guys are on fire. Can we see these properties on the MLS? Eventually, of course, you're gonna see the properties on the MLS, but you don't wanna wait on these until these properties hit the MLS. You wanna communicate with the bank before then, because by the time they hit the MLS, everybody's going to see those properties. Not only that, you're going to have more competition and you're going to pay more for the properties. You want to talk to the bank before they put them in the MLS. Does that make sense? Great questions. Can we do rehab analysis? Absolutely. We did the rehab analysis webinar yesterday on Sunday. So please, Max, watch the replay. It's very simple. We gave a chart of what it would take to rehab. So in a nutshell, anything below 2,000 square feet that requires paint, carpet or flooring, updated bathrooms and kitchens is going to cost 35,000. That's it. Okay, very simple. Assuming that it's not a gut rehab. Okay. Next, the auction date is November 2018. How do we know it's still available? So great question. When you do the filtering, you have the ability to filter, to go back maybe up to 90 days. Why? Because what I told you earlier, the bank, if they took the property today, in 30 to 90 days from today, guess what? It's going to hit the MLS. So you don't want to go back over 3 months, okay? Because those properties are going to be already on the MLS or auctioning platforms. So great question. So when you filter these, make sure that the auction date was no longer than 30 months, 3 months ago. Great question. Is it illegal for a tenant in an REO to show you their unit if you get their consent? No. So if the property is occupied, I've done this in the past, not too long ago, maybe 3 months ago. It was an REO property that had a lot of equity. So I went to the property to see if it was occupied. Guess what? It was occupied. So I talked to the owner and I told the owner, listen, we are going to buy the property, but I need to have access to the property for inspection, appraisal, and I need to take possession when we close on the property. So this is what I need from the owner. I said, give me access to the contractor, to the appraiser, and move out when we close on the property. In exchange, we're going to give you $3,500. They signed the paperwork, and that's how it worked out. So you can work out a deal with the existing tenants or owners because eventually they're going to need to move out sooner or later. But right now, due to the pandemic and the courts being closed, you need to negotiate cash for keys. Very simple, okay? Now, another question is, are most banks open to allowing you to finance their property, or do they prefer cash deals? Great question. Guess what? So we bought a 2-flat that we converted into a 3-flat in Albany Park, and it was a bank-owned property. So we negotiated for the bank to finance the deal. So that's the beauty of it. Sometimes you don't even need to get your own funding. They're going to give you the funding for it. Okay, obviously they're going to check your credit, they're going to check your experience, but if it's a great deal that makes sense, they can even fund the transaction for you. So this property, it was a few years ago, we got about 90% LTV. So they funded 90% of the transaction, so we came up with 10% down payment. So it was funded by a TFC Bank. It was a bank-owned property by TFC Bank. Okay, so great question, Andrea. Another question is, no, I meant, can we see the property on the inside if it's not on the MLS? So again, great question. So you need to go out to the property, find out if it's occupied or not. If it's occupied, guess what? You need to talk to whoever is inside the property. Hopefully it's not a squatter, it's the owner, the previous owner who's lost the property, and find out if you can get access to it, okay? But you need to come across as, listen, eventually, they're going to need to move out, so you're there to help. You're going to say, I'm buying the property in 45 days to 60 days. Can we work out a deal? I need access to the property two or three times, okay, for inspection, appraisal, and then I need to take possession once we close on the property. In exchange, I'm going to give you $3,500, okay? Because nobody's going to give them that money. Eventually, they're going to be moving out, so the likelihood of you working out a deal with them, it's high, okay? It's over 70% success rate if you work directly with the owners, okay? And you can let them take, let's say, appliances just as a bonus, right? Great questions. And if the property is vacant, it's secured, you may not be able to see the property. All you need to do is peek through the windows, okay? Make sure that it's not a gut rehab. But again, what I told you earlier and what I've seen from my experience is that bank-owned properties were recently inhabited by owners. Therefore, they are in livable condition. They might be dated, but for the most part, all mechanicals are working. So you're not going to need to do like new electric, new plumbing or HVAC. They are in working condition. Those systems may be obsolete or dated, but it doesn't mean that they're not functioning, okay? So great questions. Another one, what if the property is a flat. How do you view all units? Great question. You may not be able to see all 3 units. Okay, so what I've seen in multi-units is you can see the common area. You might be able to peek through the unit on the first floor, but that's about it. So you can assume that the condition of one of the units is going to be similar to the condition of the remaining units. Great question, Mark. Guys, you are on fire. Amazing questions. So this is how you work out banked on properties. You've got to intercept the property with the bank before they send the properties to the MLS via the REO broker or to the auctioning platforms. Now, are there any other questions before we move forward? I just want to make sure that you get the hang of it because this is super important. I'm going to show you another example. Okay, so this is in Elmhurst. Elmhurst is an A+ neighborhood. So this property is owned by TCF National Bank. Okay, that's a very large bank. You can still give it a try, but look at this. This property, it went back to the bank for $150,000. The outstanding balance was $80,000. But the last payment was back in 2011. That is why from the money owed to the bank till today, there were like 10 years that passed by. So that is why it went back to the bank for 150,000. But guess what? Look at this one. This doesn't have like a lot of equity. This property is worth around 200,000. But that's something that we need to check because we don't have the number of bedrooms in this property. So it's a 1,200 square feet. So my assumption is at least a 2-bedroom, perhaps 3-bedroom. Okay. So I think this ARV might be a little bit higher because Elmhurst is an A+ neighborhood. But again, the key is that you reach out to the bank directly. Okay, super, super important. Now that's the reverse, that's a reverse mortgage. Okay, so reverse mortgage. Okay, so that makes sense. I didn't see the details on that. So reverse mortgage means that somebody with a lot of equity started to take monthly payments, sucking that equity from the property itself. Okay. Next, let me show you another one, West Chicago. Okay, these are all great areas in DuPage. So who is the plaintiff? American Metro Bank. This seems like a small bank, okay? They took it for 130,000. This doesn't have much information about the square footage, number of bedrooms. So here we cannot single family home. We don't have much details on this property, okay? Unfortunately. So I just want you to understand the concept and the process. So now we have a partner that we can buy properties from large banks, okay? The beauty about that is that even if these properties are already in auctioning sites, we can buy them directly from the large banks without any competition. So I'm gonna show you those properties. So right here, shadow inventory, target. So right now we have 623 properties. We get between 500 to 1,000 properties every single week. And the beauty about this is that we know what the bank is going to sell it for. That's just incredible. So let me show you. Let's filter these by county. So let's put in DuPage County just to keep it consistent. So let's see how many properties. So we didn't get any properties from DuPage County. Okay, so let's just reset these and I can filter them on the map directly, or I can just filter by cities. So I'm gonna put, for instance, Des Plaines. Okay, search. I'm gonna see if there are any properties. So there are a couple of properties in Des Plaines. So let me just give you an example. This is what the target means, what the bank is going to sell it for. But what I look at is the ARV, right? So there's not enough meat in the bone. You want to look at properties that have a lot of equity. So for instance, let's take a look at this one. This is a little bit better. You can buy this property for $270 and it's worth $383. Okay, this is a little bit better, but yet we like to focus on properties below 200,000. Okay. So what I like to do in this case, I like to just click on map and filter all the properties on the map. Why? Because then I just focus on certain areas, and if there are like B plus, A minus areas below 200,000, boom, I look at those properties. Even if it says occupied, you always have to go check the occupancy, because in the system, by the time they got entered into the system, the owner might have already left the property. Okay, so always super important to physically go check the properties. Now, you will have access to this inventory. In fact, we're going to give you free access to this inventory for 1 week. So this is what we're going to do. It's going to become like a challenge. We give you access. Try to find great deals with a lot of equity that we can pull from the back door, okay? And if they make a lot of sense, guess what? We can partner up or help you line up funding. Whatever you need, we can help out. So we are all going to work as a team. Okay, so these are all the properties on the map. So let me just show you. Let me move the map here towards the middle. Minimize. So you're going to get even properties in Indiana. We're getting a lot of properties in Indiana. So what I like to do is, let's say Bolingbrook, and the price is 145. I'm going to view the details. I want to see what the ARV is. So there's not enough meat. So we pay 145 and the property is worth close to 200,000. We need at least 100,000 spread. Okay, friends? So we're going to give you access to this for a week. Make sure that you get at least 100,000 spread. If we're going to pay to the bank, let's say 100,000, the ARV should be at least 100,000 more. So 200,000. You need that spread to make the numbers work. So Arlington Heights, let me check this. Whoa, this is 682. That's too expensive. 270. No, I want to stay below 200,000. So this is the Plains. 194. I want to see what the ARV is. ARV is 221. It doesn't make sense. You see how quickly you can analyze deals? So I'm going to go back onto the map. I'm going to zoom in. There are way too many areas. Skokie is a great neighborhood. 249. That's over 200,000. We like to focus on properties below 200,000. So here, this could be worth 322. You don't have enough meat in the bone. You cannot do a successful flip on these properties. So you continue checking. Norwich, it's a great B plus A minus neighborhood. 168, I like this. Although Lawrence is a busy street, but let's see what the ARV is on this property. 168 and ARV is, it's a very small property, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. No, it doesn't make sense. So there are going to be properties where they just don't make any sense because the bank is asking for too much. Okay, Lincolnwood, this is a great area. 184. Let me see. This is in Chicago. Let's find out. This is, we're getting, okay, this is way better, friends. So we have, it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5. Well, it's a townhome. Okay, the ARV is almost twice the ARV. So this is a little bit less. You're paying maybe 60 cents on the dollar. So here we have a good spread, okay, on this property. So this is something that we should further look into it. And if we like the property, the first thing that we need to do is check it out physically. Make sure that it's, even though it says occupied, make sure that it's vacant, okay? So we don't run into hiccups with funding, okay? And this property may already be listed in the auctioning platform. So let me show you how I do it. I just paste it on Google and see if it's in one of the major auctioning sites. Zillow, Realtor, Property Shark, Trulia, Coldwell Banker. I don't see that it's already listed in any of the big auctioning sites. So this is a good sign, right? Because we can still pull it or buy it directly from the bank before it hits the MLS or the auctioning sites. And then you can see here on the owner loan tab who the latest owner is on this property. Okay, so here we still see that it's owned by the previous owner, but this is officially bank-owned property. Okay, so We're going to give you access again to this inventory so that we work as a team and hopefully we find a great deal. Where is my map? So right here, Oak Park. Okay, let's check out Oak Park. 156. Whoa, this is in Cicero. Cicero is also a great rental market for 156,000. Let's take a look at these. 156 ARV is 210. There's not enough meat. Remember, you need 100,000 spread from the price you buy it for to what the ARV should be, because otherwise you won't be able. In fact, look at this. We tell you how much you should pay for this property. So the most you should pay if you do a flip or a rental is 103 or 123. The bank is asking for 156. Is overpriced. You are gonna lose money. So just because you can buy it directly from the bank, it doesn't mean that it's a great deal. You've got to understand the numbers, and we're giving you the numbers. We tell you the ARV, we tell you the most you should pay, and in this case, it doesn't make sense at all. There's not enough meat in the bone. So you just need to look at several. I mean, there are like over 600 properties. So go buy. There are a lot of properties here in Oak Park. Oak Park is a great neighborhood. Okay, but here it's east of Oak Park, so that's not, it's West Garfield Park. So let me go up to Norwich, Harwood, here, 321. This is Norwich, is a very nice neighborhood. Cumberland is a pretty busy street. I'm just curious. 321 is too much, and look at the ARV. There's not enough meat in the bone. So the most we should pay for this property should be like 175. So the bank is asking for way too much. So the bank is not going to sell it anytime soon. So you're going to find properties where the bank is trying to get like top dollars, and it's not going to happen, friends. It's not going to happen. Okay, especially for us investors, we're looking for a spread. Bellwood. Okay, 132. Bellwood is a great rental market. 132 ARV, it's almost 170. It's a small 3-1, so 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Again, the most we should pay for this property should be somewhere in the 100 range. So it will be overpriced, 132. So you need to really find a great deal where you're gonna pay less, less or what the max offer should be. Okay, either this max offer or less. Does that make sense? This is gonna prevent you from overpaying for the property. Brookfield, it's a great neighborhood. 153, that catches my eye. It's in the price range we're looking for. But you see, they're asking for 153. The most that we should pay should be between 100 and 120. Okay, the ARV is about 200,000. So it doesn't make any sense. It's overpriced. Okay, even if you can buy it directly from the bank, you really need to buy with a lot of equity, especially nowadays that property values next year are going to drop 5 to 10%. Okay, because again, there's going to be increase in property supply, so that's going to cause property prices to adjust. So you need to account for a declining ARV. So again, we're going to give you access so that hopefully you and us can find a great deal and do something with it. So in this case, 198, again, they're asking for too much. ARV does not support this purchase price. The most we should pay is 127. You see, I want to show you how quickly we analyze deals, okay? But again, every individual is different as far as location. So I'm just focusing on the west that is nearby us. So it depends where you live because the properties are everywhere, okay? Everywhere. Look at the map. I mean, they're like everywhere. So you can look farther south, west, all the way to Joliet. So it's very simple to identify great deals. I just look at the most we should pay and what the bank is selling the property for. I don't really look at the occupancy for now because we need to physically go look at the property. Okay, so through this exercise that I just showed you, we found like we've done 5 bank-owned properties through this inventory. I mean, home run deals where what the bank is asking for is way less than the max allowed offer. Okay, so we could flip it, we can buy and hold, we could do anything with the property, okay? But the key is that you have access to the inventory so that you can pull it from the back door. So when you want to buy properties directly from the bank through our partner, you need to get vetted. So we're going to ask you for your entity docs and your proof of funds or line of credit. Super important, right? Because once you decide to buy one of these properties, there's no way back, because we're going to put it from the back door. You have to follow through. You have to buy the property, and then you can do anything: flip, buy and hold, or wholesale the property.